Hi, and welcome back. I am Paige Elizabeth. This is Creating Consciousness. And today I have with me a longtime friend of mine. Her name is Rachael Sellars. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Good to
Yes, Rachel. Rachel has been in the fitness industry, the yoga industry. She's a former Rockette. Um, she's, been the epitome of wellness for as long as I've known her. And I invited her on today to talk about her experience as it pertains to the transition of perimenopause and menopause and being on the other side of that and how she can help educate women as well because she's done an amazing job going through that shift. So I wanted to pick her brain and talk to her a little bit about her experience as it pertains to the rest of us who are headed there. So welcome,
Yeah,
Rachel.
thank you. What an introduction. I have to talk about my experience. It might take 3 hours. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, your background.
Well, like you said, I was a professional dancer, did the Rockettes, did some shows, here in Las Vegas, which brought me out here. And being a dancer, it's like they always wanted like I feel like I got paid to be aesthetically pleasing. Like you didn't get hired unless you looked good in a G-string or unless you were really thin. You got weighed in all the time to get your paycheck. You had to have a show weight. And so I'm a 5'9" girl, and my family genetics is, I would say, on the heavier side with my dad's side. So when I hit puberty, I went from being quite thin to, oh my God, like I blew up. And as a dancer, I wanted to be a dancer. So all of a sudden I got an eating disorder because I went and saw a doctor and they were like, well, you're never going to be a dancer because you're too large. And so it was in my past to always do anything to be thin. And of course, that worked well to go into the professional world. However, mentally, that was challenging. So I discovered, I would say, um, I think the time when I was watching the musical Chicago, and I saw a really kind of like muscular, strong, confident woman as a character. And then I saw kind of a very tall, thin that looked like she was going to fall off the stage. And she was very wafy. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. And that's horrible looking. Like I wanted to, all of a sudden my mind was like, that is stunning. Like I wanted to kind of look like that. Again, it was in the aesthetics. So that's when I started researching lifting and of course you weren't allowed to lift weights back in the dance world days because you would gain weight. That's what they thought. You'd get bulky, like all that stuff, right? So it was always a conundrum of a struggle. Um, and with the Rockettes, at least they did a healthier body weight system than most of the shows that I had, especially like cruise ship shows. So I would go, I'm 5'9", so my good weight should be between like 135 to 145. And like in the years, they got me down to sometimes 119, 120, 124. So, now I'm in the 145 range again, and I love it. Like I feel this is me, this is healthy, I feel strong, I feel confident. But it took me like almost my whole entire life. And then I found yoga. Um, and that helped me, I think, more mentally from the performance anxiety world and the dance world. But then yoga was, I felt like, yeah, I could do this because I was so flexible, legs behind the head, no problem, blah, blah, blah. But then my joints and all that, like I stopped lifting completely. Um, and then, so now I'm about, I would say, in my 40s and about, I would say 48 or so is when I was like, oh, I have these weird symptoms happening. Like I would go back in the gym because my joints were sore, I think, from all the yoga and being flexible. Like I had a hip issue, I had a hamstring tear, I had all these injuries. So I went back into the lifting just to almost rehab and take care of. Um, and then that got me back into like just lifting again. But then I noticed that lifting was harder. Like I couldn't get muscle. then I started going down the path of research of, I think I'm in perimenopause. I would have like weird armpit sweat that would just like run down me. But then I'd be freezing. And so I had all these things, but also it was the year of 2020 when COVID happened. So I was having a little bit of mood swings and I thought maybe I was just depressed. Um, and then about, I would say, like just little symptoms started happening in about 49. I was lifting so heavy for that whole year into my 50s. And it was more my mental like health I just loved going to the gym. I felt stronger, but it was still hard to gain muscle. And then between 50 and 51, like I would do something that I normally do, like say plyometric jumps or something like that. And I broke my foot. And then I two teeth broke all in the same month, like all these weird things. So then I went and got DEXA scanned and, for bone loss. And so all these just weird symptoms were happening. I didn't have really the brain fog or anything until like maybe 51, but it was more, I was diving into the physicality of working out, looking at my nutrition, um, my sleep. I feel like I have a good sleep regimen, but if I had any sort of alcohol or sugar or anything like that, I was up at 2 a.m., like watching a full movie. Um, so I had to cut like the alcohol out because that wasn't like I would, especially wine, like I couldn't even get a night's sleep if I had a glass of wine. So I just noticed like different things experimenting. I was reading so much about it, but I felt like every like 6 months or so, I almost had to do that experimental knowledge. Like I had to use myself as a vehicle to study because I would try something and it didn't work. Then I tried something else and it didn't work. So I feel like my lifestyle changes. I was doing adaptogens. I didn't feel like I needed to be on HRT. I was doing Shashandra in my coffee for mood and clarity. I was doing ashwagandha. I tried rhodiola, but it was like almost too stimulating. It gave me a little heart stuff. And then it has been now, it's September, and it's been 2 years since I haven't had my period. So I would consider myself like obviously postmenopausal. And it's been in the last year that now I feel like the nervous system, the like my cortisol, my sugar, my lipid panel is like insane. And also, I'm noticing that I'm more stressed, working a lot. I haven't had a day off. So even though I feel like my fitness lifestyle has been good, now it's my mental state that's been challenged. So that's a lot in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, that's great though. You kind of get us caught up. I mean, I never would have guessed that you had been heavy ever because you're so, and I've seen this. So I have a friend who's also 5'9" who, when she hit puberty, she ballooned up and then she's skinnied out and she's been skinny ever since. And so, I think that happens to some people during puberty, but like you're so Vata to me. Like, yeah, I just never would have guessed that you could even like hold weight. You know,
Well, it's funny
like
because I'm Vata Kapha. So even when I like the Kapha side of me is it can get very like lazy and just binge out on junk food. And, like I can get very like lethargic. So yeah, I'm Vata Kapha. So it's really confusing because,
I'm Pitta Kapha. So
okay.
I just feel like I'm eternally like prone to like that fire water reaction. Like if anything is off, I just swell with inflammation. It's so annoying. And it's it's not painful inflammation. It's just like me when I lift, oh, do I get a response? I am like just my muscles just for a few days.
I,
Oh, I hate it. Oh, I'm just
I
like,
get,
well, I'm gonna look great this weekend at the lake. That's for sure. You know what I mean? Like my whole body just puffs up.
oh my, well, I mean, lifting does cause inflammation, so it makes sense.
But
Uh,
it's so frustrating. I'm like,
I've never ever seen you fluffed up, girl.
I feel fluffed up now. But
I've never
I mean,
seen you that way.
like, and I'm now diving into information about like I never heard until recently, like you can have alpha 2 receptors versus the beta 2 receptors when it comes to fat. And like beta 2, releases fat easily, alpha 2 holds it, learning about set points and how much a woman's body wants to hold on to a certain amount of like pounds of fat versus like not so much overall weight, but we tend to hold the fat portion and
Yeah.
how to break set points, And I'm just because I
Definitely
like
in the stomach. For me, it's like belly.
yeah, for me, it's actually, even though people love my arms, it's actually my arms. My arms are actually where I have a lot of insulin receptors and I hate it. And
Hmm.
so, like, I don't have a thick lower body, you know what I mean? That's the last to go, but it's not thick, so I don't really care. It's my arms where you can tell if I'm in a cut or not, depending on how my arms
I love it. I love it.
it's just I'm just determined because as I get older, I'm like I want to age with grace. And it's like the problem is because I've had eating disorders and I've had body dysmorphia, and it's like now it's age dysmorphia. It's like, well, now I gotta worry about the body fat and the creepy skin. This is not fun, you know?
Another thing. That's another thing. Someone older than me that went through menopause said to me, one day you're just going to wake up and your skin is just going to be loose everywhere. And it's true. Like, it's just like, it's interesting. Like, thank God for tights and things that hold you in because it's like, yeah, the skin is different. It's thinner. It's almost see-through. So, I know estrogen helps with that. So,
No,
and
no, absolutely. And you said you started noticing your symptoms at 48, and I want to like drive that point home because when your nervous system is calibrated properly, that is around the time when you should be noticing shifts. If you're 38, 40, 42, and I'm not talking about outliers. If you have ovarian insufficiency, then you're going to be an outlier, but that's a very small percentage of people. Traditionally, your perimenopausal symptoms should not start until you're in your late 40s. And so I want to drive that point home because I'm really tired of medicine going, oh, well, you're just not sleeping, you have anxiety and you're 36. Oh, welcome to perimenopause. No, that's HPA dysfunction. That is not perimenopause.
yeah.
And I want to just clarify that difference. And that's another reason I wanted to speak to you because you didn't have symptoms until you're traditionally moving into menopause.
Right, right. And I feel like the last, I mean, this audience would appreciate this because of the women, but I even went through like the skin is interesting. Your vaginal tissue dries up like the Las Vegas desert, but I had painful sex that creates like I had no libido, no energy, no drive. I was very irritable. Like this is for me, it happened after I went through menopause, like the year of really no period for 1 year, then I felt mostly that. The perimenopause part was just a little bit here and there, but I thought, oh, I don't need anything. I'm just going to control it with lifestyle and just be a better advocate of looking at my own like health and what comes up. Like I have a written book of every year and what age I was and what happened during that. So it really wasn't until I got through like a full year that I was like, oh, now things are happening. Like I shared with Paige earlier that, I've never had this, like, I've had panic attacks and anxiety attacks like this past like 5, 6 months. Um, and then like complete sadness. Like I can totally break down and cry. And I think Paige knows that I'm a pretty kind person, but I'll have rage. Like someone like my boyfriend will cough and I'll be like, oh my God. Like I'll be so like, irritable. So that's been interesting. So I got lipid panels done just recently and like my FSH follicle stimulating hormone is really high, which means like my estrogen is completely depleted. So anyways, that's yeah, it's been more like menopausal post that my symptoms have been really kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's where if you are, like I said, if you're calibrating your nervous system properly, the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal is the command center for our stress. And when we have too much of life that we've accumulated without unpacking, that loses its buffer. And so we end up dealing with symptoms we shouldn't, but it's only because the brakes for dealing with reality have just thinned out.
Yep.
And so when we recalibrate that, you know what I mean? Like I was telling you, a year and a half ago, my natural doctor put me on progesterone. And because I've done so much healing, like I've taken my own work and advice and just cleared so much that now my body's rejecting the progesterone. It's like, we don't need this now. We got this. You know what I mean? Because when you're really stressed, your hormones get siphoned.
No,
And
yeah,
cortisol dominates the show. Like cortisol dominates, the HPA is not functioning, progesterone can't do its job, you know what I mean? And so, and for when you're younger, progesterone is typically the first one to get kicked because it sits right next to cortisol, like in the,
right, right. Yep. That's a good
and so, now I can say, yeah, I don't need it because I've recalibrated all those points. And it's fascinating how even just, I got rid of H. pylori. I didn't know I had H. pylori for 15 years. When I got rid of that, my body really started to reject the progesterone, which taught me
point.
what was going on in my gut the whole time.
So you weren't on estrogen, you were just on progesterone?
Yeah, just a little bit of progesterone.
Okay. Yeah.
And as soon as like we cleared the H. pylori, because I had an H. pylori infection in my stomach for 15 years, it was causing indigestion. And I had just learned to deal with it. I thought like that my body was just sensitive. When I would eat less carbs, it would calm down. If I ate smaller meals, it would calm down. So I kind of just learned how to work around it. But then I got really tired of having heartburn. And so finally I went to my natural doctor and I was like, well, I don't think I have H. pylori. He goes, I think you do.
Wow.
And so yeah, we cleared it and my body responding to that because it wasn't dealing with that low grade chronic stress in the system anymore. Oh, after we got rid of that, that's when I was like, my body was like, I don't want progesterone anymore. It was fascinating. All of a sudden, my body could do what it needed to do and it could get to where it needed to go.
Hmm.
So
And
it's
then
crazy.
how was your like sugar levels and all that
Before or now or when?
now? Like now that you've got does it
It
dip?
didn't really affect
Right.
that so much. Lifting has actually been like I've kind of run low blood sugar my whole life.
Me too, yeah.
And so I liked keto. I got into keto when I was practicing Ashtanga because it would keep inflammation at bay and it kind of kept the blood sugar regulated. I could never fast because I had blood sugar issues though. And lifting has completely modulated that. Like lifting has done something for my muscles that nothing else has done. And now I don't have any, like I'm very insulin sensitive now, no blood sugar issues. I can go all day without eating. I'm not going to crash, get hangry, any of that. And so that I have to attribute to the weightlifting.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. I agree. I agree with that. And we can eat more.
yeah, well, and so but yeah, I was like, wow, like really when you like it's amazing what affects the nervous system. You don't think it's not just like your partner or your boss that can affect your stress levels. It's what's going into the system and how the system is. I mean, there's so many levels to healing the nervous system. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm living proof that like if it's HPA dysfunction and you're using HRT, that can be fixed, right? So I really like to drive that point home because I hate like Western medicine is just so sloppy and lazy with their labels.
Yeah. And I feel like it's also a time, I mean, I'm not a mom, but I have stepchildren but I do know like the time of the transition is that usually the kids are going off to college and then the older parents are getting older. So, and then it seems like there's a lot more deaths happening with family. And so we're in this like middle stage of is it my hormones or am I just really sad because my family passed and my kids are going to school? Like you're juggling so much during this interesting time and you're having weird like symptoms. I'm blessed that I haven't had too many crazy symptoms. Um, like some people are debilitated. Like they are right away at like 48 years old or 40, late 40s, like, oh, they're going to get on it right away. I'm lucky that I didn't have to do that. But I am seeing it. I have an appointment tomorrow to see a hormone doctor.
Well, no, but I mean, like, again, even as you transition, the degree of symptoms that you're dealing with does correlate to the stress level and your
Yes.
body's capacity to deal with it 100%. So it's not like I have known women who are like, yeah, it just kind of stopped.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was that. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And then there's other women that they just went through hell for 5 years, right? And it very much correlates to that HPA dysfunction. So it plays a role all the way through. But like you really shouldn't be noticing anything different until the factory starts to shut down,
Yeah.
right? And that's perimenopause when you're no longer, you know, ovulating like you were regularly and your periods start to become irregular, stuff like that.
And
So
if women haven't gone through this yet, there will be times where you're like for me, it's like, oh, you skip a month and then it's like a crime scene. Like it's full on, like, oh my God, what's happening down there? And then you'll skip like 4 months and then it's a full on crime scene. Like until all of a sudden you're waiting and you're waiting and it doesn't show. Like it's just interesting to see that your cycle different, even though I still had like boob swelling and like a week before my cycle would have happened, I'd still get the symptoms of breast tenderness, like, oh, my period's going to come, or like bloating or something like that. But then it never came. So that's kind of interesting as well. Yeah.
yeah, and you have, like you were saying, you're like, now I definitely want to look into HRT. So talk more about your decision with that.
Um, well, going back to the painful sex and low libido, I went and got vaginal estrogen mixed with testosterone. And I did that this past March. And as of May, you're supposed to put it on down there. Oh, by the way, I'll tell a fun story that it said to put on your vulva. I had to Google what a vulva was. I didn't know the vulva was the entire vagina. Just to have a comical moment. I was like, oh wow, that's the vulva. Okay, so you spread it over your entire vagina. But then 2 months later, like I did end up having sex, and for the first time, it wasn't painful. I felt like my tissues were like juicified, like all the things. And so I was like, oh, maybe I do need this. Like I did feel better. I had more libido, that stuff. So now that I'm going through more the mental nervous system, mood changes, sadness, I feel like heart palpitations. I feel like my lifestyle fitness side is fine, and that's been a great regulator. But I feel like now I just want to see a hormone doctor to it's an HRT doctor to just look at my mood enhancers, and estrogen helps with heart, helps with skin, helps with mood. And I guess with I just got my labs back and I am pretty depleted and like hardly no estrogen in my body. So, I'm going to hopefully get a patch. Everyone says that they want to die with their patch in their coffin. It's that great. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll talk to the doctor tomorrow. I have been gaslit. I've seen like 3 different doctors, and the last one I saw told me to meditate more and to do energy work, um, which is funny because I'm a meditator.
I know. I've said that too on social media. I'm like, pranayama's great, but like if you are self-abandoning, no amount of breath work is going to change and override the fact that you're neglecting yourself.
Totally, totally. So, um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing what is next because I find as a person, like I'm a trainer, I work with people every day, I get up in front of a room, um, and that was hard. Like I feel like I would cry. I've been teaching for so many years, and you know this, Paige, but like getting out of the car and having to get up in front of a room and speak when you're just sad and you don't know what to even say because you don't feel uh, almost like a confidence within is missing.
Mhm.
Then I was like, oh my God, like I feel like I was giving out and giving out and giving out and I wasn't receiving anything. So I feel like that maybe the HRT will just help me with my mood and my energy. And I've never really been like doubtful person. Like the self-doubt has been really like, oh my gosh, like imposter syndrome, self-doubt, not good enough. That's been like this year for me. That's been really hard. Like I don't even want to get out of bed sometimes. So that's why I'm like, maybe I need estrogen.
No, absolutely. And I mean, like, it's interesting that you bring those things up because those are the drivers of nervous system dysfunction, actually.
Okay.
All
See,
of those things, a lifetime of self-abandonment, of, betrayal, of the imposter syndrome. And like when you're in a good equilibrium, they don't pop up as much. It's so crazy because like I overcame depression. So like when people are like, "Oh, like is it your hormones?" I'm like, I was depressed from birth. Like I mean, this is like my normal state of being, like to be in a bad mood and to be bitchy. Like that's Paige. But like I overcame a lot of despair, like an addictive pattern. Um, by breaking up with my reaction to it. Like I literally for 2 years, like just don't identify. And eventually the cell receptors died off and I did a lot of healing on that level. Now I have more quick, powerful ways to overcome those things, tools, like self-love practice, reparenting, actually releasing the trauma straight out of the vagus nerve. Like I got a lot of tools in my box now to make it so much easier. But like even when I work with my TBM practitioner, it's really fascinating. So like if you're in a lower, like right now collectively there's a lot going on. I can lower a person's frequency and vibration automatically. When you're in that state, it's crazy how what's lurking below the surface, it's like, oh, something to identify and cling to. Let's build on that. And the next thing you know, you're like, well, I'm fat and ugly and stupid and broken, not wanted. And like, it just boom. You know what I mean? And so,
dog I had last week.
you know what I mean? And it's like, but it has to exist somewhere in order for it to come up, right? And in TBM, because I work side by side a lot of, they do total body modification. And it's biomedicine, but it's not allopathic biomedicine. And it's amazing. And they have what's called like, oh, let's check you for zeta. Zeta is just code word for is your vibration too low? And they do the correction to shift your nervous system and brain axis out of it. So that you're like you go from being just this, what's wrong with my life to just, but it's just it's interesting how that does affect it. But yeah, and how if you stay there long enough, you will start to build an identity around that, and then your cell receptors and your neurotransmitters start shifting what they're pulling on, like between serotonin and dopamine and all this stuff. Like it all just cascades. So yeah, it's interesting, but that's why I have women actually work on the core patterns because it's like, if you don't work on this now, like your busy mode or your fight or flight, and the fact that like you can kind of override it hormonally, you know what I mean? There's going to come a time when it's not as easy, and that's all that's going to flood to the surface. So it's really important to have that relationship shifted now.
I agree. I absolutely agree. 100%.
I mean, I know I had told you I'm dealing with litigation on multiple fronts, and it, it's just a season of legalities. I got Saturn in the ninth, and it's like I'm thankfully Saturn being the taskmaster and the ultimate karmic teacher. I usually show up as Saturn as opposed to being Saturned, wherever it goes in my chart, which is nice. I'm the plaintiff on all these fronts, is in other words. And I have all these situations. And a friend of mine was like, well, why do you keep attracting this? Like she was so like not helpful. And I part of me wanted to be like, yeah, why am I attracting it? But then the other part of me was like, yeah, but I'm also their karma. Like they are legitimately doing wrong. And when I stopped fighting it and just surrendered, and I was like, okay, this is obviously happening to learn something. And it just it dawned on me that like this whole time, my inner child that would fight when she was not getting her way was the one doing all the talking.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is so totally me learning to be the adult in the room. and not the child in the room when it comes to handling these things. And again, that was one more thing that just completely shifted my nervous system. So now I'm not dealing with these legal issues like, oh God, we got to do this again. And why are this? It's not the child's responding anymore. It's like, oh, let's see if they like this. I'm just going to file this today.
I love it.
So
I,
it's coming from a different space. And when you operate from the authority, you let the child know, I got you.
that 100%. I feel like because I just got back from that silent meditation retreat, because you're with yourself in your mind, you realize wait, everything I'm complaining about or bitching about, I I can change it. I can set my boundaries. I can be stronger in my decision making. The people in my life, the situations in my life, like you just realize that it's up to you now just to like be strong, go in head first, and instead of like, oh my God, what's that person gonna say? What's that person gonna say? Like the worrier in me, you know. So I agree 100%. That's good that you discovered that.
Yeah, I mean, I've done work like this my whole
I
life.
was
So
gonna
it's
say,
like there's always some new piece.
yeah,
But and that's why it's important to give people the tools so they can manage it in real time. But it's like, yeah, if you don't heal the fragmented parts of yourself, they will show up later. They'll show up as diabetes, as cancer, as major depression, as anxiety. Like that's what that is. Like your anxiety is your inner child showing up and going, you didn't deal with me.
totally,
And
totally.
and so, again, like the more you can have calibrated going into this transition, the less you have to confront when you go through it.
And there is something about, I'm not gonna lie, it's like that inner child. There is something about, oh my God, I'm 53 now, going into my 54th year. There's a part of me that's like, I'm an only child. Um, and it's scary, but also cool getting older. Um, but I feel like I'm still trying to live a little bit of um, the old like dancer me, you know, that everything became really easy and I never had all these symptoms um and also I'm older as a yoga teacher, as a dancer, I mean as a a trainer, like do I really want to continue doing this as a job? Like there's this also nervous system change of am I gonna how long am I is this sustainable? Like am I gonna be able to like be with people every day for the rest of my like into my 60s? Like do I want to be an old 60-year-old trainer? Like that's the mindset that I have. Like I still think that I'm that, fire dancer, but I'm not. I'm older. And it's just accepting that.
Oh,
So
I know. I know. I mean, I'm 43 and I'm just
you're
like,
43. Wait till you're 53.
I'm sure, but I mean, still, I
Yeah.
see it and I feel it. And it's funny because like I look in the mirror and I didn't get married and have kids and so I don't have a lot of the stressors that wear a lot of people down. So I don't look like a lot of my peers. I look younger than a lot of them, but I still see. I'm like, how can someone look at me and not see my age? I mean, just the way I carry myself is different. Like when you get older, you just show up differently.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
energy is different. Like so even though, my face doesn't wear like someone my age, I think my energy does.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
And not in a haggard way, but just in a mature
No,
way, you know?
no, no. And you feel like you can't tolerate, I mean, for me, I'm just speaking for me, I can't tolerate like social gatherings as much, or like when someone cancels an outing, or I'm like, yes. Or like I just want to, my energy of going out all the time is completely like I could do crafts and a puzzle and I'll be happy. Is that getting older? Yes, it is. Okay. But I'm proud of it.
Well, yeah, because you don't have this abundance of energy, right? And so you have to be, very picky about where you're going to expend it.
Yeah.
And, I think that's like one of the differences with maturing, right? Because you're like, this isn't worth reacting to. This isn't worth showing up for. This isn't worth engaging. Like and my peers were kind of in that boat where it's like, I only have so much fight in me. Where's it going to go today?
Yeah, totally.
And so you act accordingly. And it's interesting that you brought up the alcohol thing. And this is another, like I'm hosting a retreat next year with a man who does all of this for men. And I think it's really fascinating that like women get labeled as like, oh, you're drying up and you're getting old, but men don't. It's like, no, 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 no. Let's back up here. What women call perimenopause, men call low testosterone.
Yeah,
Okay. Like
totally.
and their nervous systems, even though men are built for stress,
Yeah.
if they push themselves hard enough, they'll deal with HPA dysfunction as well. And a buddy of mine who's your age, we were hanging out this weekend. He was like, I just can't drink at night. I can't sleep afterwards.
Oh, funny, funny.
Said
Yeah.
to him, I was like, yes, it's not just a perimenopausal issue. Like that's just something that happens with aging because your nervous system doesn't want to buffer as much. And I said to him, I was like, yeah, I learned a couple of years ago because I'm not much of a drinker.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to drink, it's going to be daytime so that it's metabolized out by the time I go to bed and it doesn't affect me. But I will not drink at night. I won't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. You'll be up watching Dr. Phil at 3 in the morning because there's nothing else on TV. So true. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it happens to men too, and I point that out because again, that's not they don't go through the changes that we do in the same way. So,
Yeah.
but they have the same kind of like I've heard plenty of men talk about low energy, low testosterone, brain fog, like they have all the same symptoms when their HPA axis gets dysregulated. So, just
Menopause.
I and but yeah, so I'm excited to host that retreat with him because he's going to tackle it from the
Great.
men's perspective and I'm going to tackle it from the female's perspective and do inner child work on all fronts. And
Oh, wow. That's going to be fun.
yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so one thing that I have noticed about you, Rachel, is that you've, like I said, you're super, super, super fit. And a thing that happens to us as the HPA gets dysregulated, cortisol kind of runs the show. Cortisol competes with insulin. A lot of people don't know that.
Mhm.
So you can have the same routine, the same diet, the same everything, but if your stress goes up, so does insulin. Insulin resistance does go up because of that, right? And so I never wanted to get into lifting. And I'll be honest with you, like it is harder to lean out with muscle than without. Can I be honest?
No, I agree. Like, yeah.
These last 5 pounds, I'm like, really? Like if I wasn't building muscle, they would fall off me because there's nothing to protect. But because I'm building this muscle, now my body's like, well, we have muscle to protect. What are we doing here? Like,
Yeah, I know. I feel like I don't know if you ever change like your eating regimen or your workout regimen, but I constantly feel like I'm playing with um, when I'm going to lift heavy, when I'm going to have a deload week, when I'm going to eat more protein, when I'm going to not, you know what I mean? It's just like, I feel like you're constantly going up and down because you get your cortisol just inflames you after anything you eat and after any activity you do. So it's even finding, like for me, I used to do like last year, I was doing all this HIIT training and I completely stopped. And now I do mostly like a lot of just walking and lifting. And at the end of a heavy lift session, I now do like 10 to 15 minutes of just an add on after of maybe some cardio. But it's last year I was doing so much cardio that I couldn't even like get up and train sometimes. I was so exhausted. So I'm playing constantly with the cortisol thing because it affects me big time with even my training and my eating.
well, I've just recently started, I was, because I'm newer to lifting, as you know, I brought you into that conversation when I started a couple of years ago and I hated it. I just was like, gosh, my body's response and I just was so swollen from lifting. Like any little thing I would do, my body's like,
Yeah, interesting.
I've put on since I started lifting, so I started about 93 pounds of lean mass, and that was like the end of maybe 23. And I am now at about 100 pounds of lean mass. So I've definitely put on some good muscle mass in the last like almost 2 years now.
And that's so not easy. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not easy to put that on. That's like from 93 to 100. That's amazing. That's hard.
I mean, that's 7 pounds in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But then you're going to notice like it, well, it depends. You're on top of it now, so it might even change once you stop your period. But um, I feel like I've gotten more fat in the midsection, and it's really, really hard to maintain lean mass for me. So I don't know, so it's good that you have that lean mass, even though you don't love it. I'm like jealous.
Well, I mean, I have put on that much of lean mass in the last few years, and I have noticed strategically that my body just it now hates being without carbs. So like as I started in, there was kind of like a window where I could kind of do carnivore and kind of do keto and stuff. And now if I try to go carnivore, especially, I flatline.
Yeah.
Within 3 days, my energy just hits the floor and I can't. And so I had to dive into that research. And I was like, oh gosh, okay, it's glycogen. All right, that's the problem. That's the thing. Okay, well. And so now as I try to cut, I was like, my body still doesn't like to partition fat just from a calorie deficit. It's like it just doesn't want to do it. Like I have to be there a long time. I have to have more of a reserve, And so now that I'm at that set point fight, I'm like, okay, maybe every third day I'll do carnivore
Hmm.
and just cycle it so my body doesn't freak out either way. It just has to adapt, and then it might get used to the fat partitioning a little bit better while maintaining that carb load.
Are you
Um,
carbing before and after your workouts, or you just mean carbing throughout the day, or just in general? Because I feel like if you carb before and after your workouts, it just helps you get like feel better in the gym, working out, and have the energy to work out instead of having like, a carb at night and then the next day you're working out. Does that make sense? Like,
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I guess I right now, I mean, I'm having fruit and sourdough bread, and I'm like throughout the day, I'm eating my carbs. I usually have pasta right before I go work out, and just to have that there. But like I said, I've noticed that I've been in a cut now for 4 weeks, and I'm just barely noticing like a difference, and I'm like, this is annoying. So it's a mild cut. I'm not doing a harsh one. I went from about 2050 to 1700 calories. So it's more mild, but I'm just noticing that my body's like really like, you can get used to this. It's like, no.
yeah,
Like
I mean,
winter's coming, my ass has grown and I need to fit into my jeans by October. We don't have time to waste. Like the bubble has ballooned from all of those hip thrusts. And if we don't lose some fat around that, we're not going to be able to fit. We'll have to buy new ones. And I'm tired of doing that. So,
anytime I see you, you look amazing. So, but I know you're feeling, but
but what I started doing recently, I went from doing progressive overload because that's what everyone's like progressive overload, progressive overload. And you had introduced me to Stacy Sims, and I'm reading through her stuff, and I'm like, a lot of it I don't actually agree with, just as a woman who's kind of doing it. But I think she also really speaks to the woman who never worked out her whole life and now she's going through menopause too. You
right.
know, I've been an athlete my whole life. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not,
I agree. I mean, I even went through her whole certification on menopause for athletes, and there are some things I feel like it's any even like with the Ashtanga system or something, like you can read all about the philosophy and you can read all about what Dr. Stacy Sims says and do the course, but unless experimental, like the amount of experimenting I've done with Dr. Stacy Sims protocol, like the HIIT didn't work for me. Um, well, maybe because I'm also not only am I training myself, but I'm training other people. Like I just couldn't deal with like all day long getting people to do HIIT work and stuff like that, and for myself too. And so I agree with some things, but at the same time, I've had to completely shift, um, you know, her protocol that I was following for myself because it was just too much. I couldn't handle it.
Well, I think that she caters, like I said, to a crowd who like has never moved weight their whole life.
Yeah.
And if you're that person, okay, like, and I feel like I speak to kind of the in-between crowd as well as the crowd who's just never, experimented with diet and exercise. But because as an acrobat, like when you're doing silks, I'm sorry, that is central nervous system. Like so
Yeah.
for me doing progressive overload, I was like, okay, give me more, give me more, give me more. I could recruit, no problem. And I didn't like that because I'm like, well, I'm not getting specific muscle groups getting stimulated because my whole body just knows how to engage. And
Mm.
so I wasn't loving the results. And I'm like, I literally am at the highest weight on this machine right now, and I'm not loving my results with this. And so I backed off, and because I was learning about, there was a couple of fitness guys that had presented some new research, and they said, yeah, if you just do one set to absolute failure, you actually have more hypertrophy. And I was like, hmm, well, I've never tried that. Let me see what happens if I do that. And so I lowered the weight on some of these things, on everything, but I lowered the weight, and I was like, let's just see what happens. And now it's more endurance based. And so I literally, like, instead of spending an hour getting in my lifting, I spend a half hour getting in my lifting and I walk for 30 minutes. But I'm telling you, like
So
now I'm getting like, I'm sore all the time everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'm specifically working that muscle that I was trying to get at.
So just to clarify, like, so if you're saying you're doing hip thrusts, instead of doing like under 10 reps or 5 to 6 reps, you're doing a higher, like almost like a burnout until you can't do it anymore, but a lesser weight. Yeah, I like to failure. Yeah,
So like I was doing like 180 pound hip thrusts. And now I'm like, I don't know, I would try to get to 10 if I could, right? Now I'm doing
like 125, but you're getting to 30.
Oh yeah. Like now I'm at 100 pounds. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, my butt's cramping. Like,
See, that's so good. Yeah.
yeah. And so now I'm just in shock at the response. And I wasn't doing it, ironically, for hypertrophy so much as I was just doing it to see if I would sculpt a better physique. And I'm just like, well, now nothing fits.
Wow. But
Like
I
it
think you are doing hypertrophy now. I think that what you're doing before and what Dr. Stacy Sims needs to clarify a little bit is she was doing more power, like put all in under 6 reps, but that's just not your natural. Like, I'm not going to tell my mom, just to do 6 reps at the heaviest she can. Like, it's so, yeah, I understand. Like, what you're doing is, I feel that's what I do now too. It's like the
Yeah,
hypertrophy.
because I was a gymnast, I was a diver, I was an acrobat, I did Ashtanga yoga, and when people go, oh, well, you did yoga. No, 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 no. I went from a seated position to a handstand. Like that's recruitment, that's full nervous system recruitment and fast twitch muscles. That is not slow endurance because she talks a lot like, oh, women have more slow twitch for endurance. I don't like I hate I've been a runner, but oh my God, I hate running. Like I hate it. You're never gonna catch me running like a marathon. No.
No. When people say that they're going to run a marathon, I'm like, I never in my life have gotten the runner's high. Like, what is that? Because I never, no runner's high over here, never.
Yeah,
Oh,
so like I mean I definitely have switched it up. I prefer this.
good. I'm glad you discovered that.
It's almost working too well. Like I said, now I got to figure out when I need to deload and take a break. Um, I haven't yet. I just started this July.
Okay, yeah. But
So
if you're doing it really strictly, then it's probably a good time to do nothing for like a week, do just walking and whatever, some light stuff, and then start again, just so your body can like, you know,
yeah,
already like I had a week off and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like deflated. And there's like, I can't wait to go to the gym and inflate a little.
Right. And the last woman that I had on, she's a pharmacist, but she helps women kind of like regulate fitness with cycle. And
Ooh,
so I was like, yeah, if I'm gonna do that, I'm probably gonna schedule it around my luteal phase.
yeah.
So
But I
that,
don't know about you, but when you do get your period that week, do you just feel like so strong? Like the week that you finish your period and then you go lift, don't you feel so strong that first week?
oh yeah, like that's right now. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, I'm pretty good until day 18. And then day 18, even when I was a teenager, like rage would kick in on day 18. And I would literally go to the calendar and I'd be like, oh, it's day 18. Like progesterone just went like this. And like every time, and still even to this day, like, oh, it's day 18. Yeah. And then so from like literally, I'd say 19 to 24, sometimes 25, those are a rough day for me. So I typically run 27, 28-day cycles. And so the day that my energy spikes, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always know. I'm like, yep.
And that's what's hard about menopause is that if you do train around your cycle and you don't like it's very different once you start having skipped periods and then you'll have a period that lasts like I never in my life had periods that last 2 weeks and I did. Like I'm like, what is this? Is horrible. Or
Mhm.
when or when like I remember in school, some of my friends would have to stay home because their period was so bad. And I was like, what? What? And that was me. Like I'm like a 50-year-old woman going, this is so weird. So the
Well,
period,
and yeah, so what advice would you give to women with that? Because that is definitely going to be an issue when you're there.
I mean, you could still, if you have a calendar of your phase of your cycle, you still probably will get some symptoms. So you can almost look at it as, oh, I am going to get my period. And you'll still get the same kind of maybe breast tenderness symptoms, your day 18, but now it's going to start to change. And so when you skip a period and stuff like that, then you're kind of screwed because now it's not coming and your estrogen and progesterone are not playing with each other. So it's hard. You just wing it.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably have to. She gave a really good example. There's a tapping technique you can do. Like there's an app that you can tap and it will tell you like if the energy's there or not that day for working out. It's interesting. I'll have to pull it back and look at it. But there's ways to tell. I know when I practiced Ashtanga, the way that I would gauge if I had the energy that day was sun salutations. Like if I did them and felt better after, I knew to keep going with my practice. If I did them and felt worse, I knew it was a day to back off. So are you there? I think you froze again. I know the screen is frozen. Are you there?
Here, yeah, there we go. Now the screen just. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, perfect.
Well,
Still a little fuzzy, but it's better.
okay.
Yeah, so back to we were talking about that, but then it just kind of went away, the insulin uh cortisol thing. So and lifting and any advice that you would give in terms of how to prepare for the transition.
Be patient. Um, I mean, do your research as best you can with nutrition, lifestyle, sleep is so important. I feel like I've really gotten um, able to create a sleep pattern for me that works for me and that gives me energy the next day, helps me move forward. Sleep has been a big number one for me. And then just the exercise. Um, when it comes to the sugar stuff, I've had to change diet a little bit. And then stress for me, like if I feel stressed, everything like my sugar levels on my lipids, like it says that I'm pre-diabetic, and I'm like, really? It's just so interesting how all my sugar levels is really like off the charts. And I'm not even a really big sugar person. Like I'm more of a salt, savory person. Um, what advice I would give is just, yeah, it's just to be patient and just to maybe log what you're doing, what's working, what's not. Like I did that too, where I would log like, oh, my energy is depleted here. What did I eat that day? How did I exercise? What was going on in my life and the circumstance? So I did feel like I journaled more once I started um, like going through the actual like first year of no period because things were working, things weren't working, and then talk to people. The only thing is like there's so many wonderful women groups now, and I have
Mhm.
a lot of friends that have also gone through this, and some friends will be like, oh, try this. I'm like, oh, that's great, I'll try that. And so just having a good women support group and just talking to as many doctors as you can and knowing like what to ask, because I've been going to doctors and they will look at my lipid panels and say, oh, you're fine, oh, you're just high stress or depressed. And even though like they're not looking at my like once you finish having your period, the blood panel is usually off your period because I don't have a period. Then so many doctors are like, well, we don't even need to look at your blood levels. We just need to go off your symptoms now. So that's been interesting that they're saying that symptoms are more important than blood levels or your blood panel after you have your period, like when your period is gone. So that's been um, interesting as well to like talk to doctors about that.
Do you think that if you had known, do you think you would have started estrogen kind of going through the transition?
Yes. I think I would have, I wish I would have started maybe a year ago. Um, a year ago, because this year has been really tough. Like even just talking about it, like you don't see it for right now, but my whole body just went into like a full on thermos, like hot. Like my armpits are starting to have a weirder odor. It just comes and goes. Like I'm like burning up right now. I don't have any like heart palpitations or anything, but I'm just saying like the symptom of just talking right now, it just like,
Mhm.
the hot flashes have been really bad. And then just like the sadness mixed with the rage.
It's interesting how estrogen really does kind of help that with I I wrote a blog recently about how um like it's actually the HPA axis that when it loses its buffer, that's why you notice the symptoms. So like when you're in puberty, we have much more volatility going on with our hormones, but we don't notice it because of that HPA buffer. And that's why it's so important to have that built and that resilience going into this because if it's not there, then you obviously notice it more. But it's also interesting because you're on the other side of it and you're like, well, estrogen's not really playing a role anymore. Why am I experiencing this? Right.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to see all the different components and how they all relate to each other. Um, yeah, I if you can, like I interviewed a woman, Carrie Kasem, Casey Kasem's daughter. She's about your age and she just, went through menopause as well, and she's lovely. She wasn't responding well to the HRT, but she liked borage oil. She found borage oil really helped to just cure a lot of her symptoms. Um, so and my friend Regina, she can't do she's on heart medication. She has a bad heart. So she can't do HRT.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested too. Like um, it would be, like, I feel like if I do start it, or once I do start it, I will definitely love to keep track on my energy, how it feels, like my mood. It'd be interesting to see. I am worried. There is a part of me. I've also had some friends that went on it and were like right away had to get off. Um, but their lifestyle isn't that great. Like I feel like I have my lifestyle is a little bit better to handle now to really notice significant changes if I am on HRT. So I do see someone tomorrow. So maybe in 6 months, it I might have a different like, oh, thank goodness, or oh, maybe not, you know.
Well, also there's different types, right? So there's oral, transdermal, there's different ways that you can take this and introduce it to the body. And I think that plays a really big role. I also know that just from I tried birth control and I hated it after a couple of months, but like in my 20s and I kind of dove into this young because I was like, what the fuck was that? But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if you like we take to HRT to kind of minimize a symptom, but if the body doesn't want that, it'll maximize the symptom, which is where you get that, okay, that didn't work for me, right? So again, this is why I stress the HPA functioning as best it can, so that way HRT can do a better job of assisting you or not assisting you if you don't need it. But
I do feel, I do have some friends that went on HRT, and I feel like the body is like, oh my God, there's new stuff in me. Let me handle this differently. And some people have had different symptoms, but they haven't like let it also last a little bit longer where the body starts to be like, okay, now I'm going to regulate after like 6 months. So maybe I go on it and I do have like, oh, I don't like this feeling, or, but I probably will just kind of give it at least 6 months to see, um, obviously having a doctor supervise the transition. And I'm going to go on the most minimal you can imagine. I don't want a big jump.
you probably don't need that much either. Based on your symptoms, you probably don't even really need a whole lot. I think because of your foundation with health and wellness and building muscle and having strong bones, you're not trying to compensate for
Yeah.
that, right? Because estrogen is so good for so many things. And like we were saying before the call, estrogen regulates blood sugar too. So it's like I'm not doing anything wrong. Why all of a sudden my blood sugar, my level's off because estrogen's gone. So um I totally see the benefit, and I'm very interested in learning from your generation on this because we're next, right? So uh,
Nice. But
we
I
we got nothing from the boomers. They didn't help anybody.
but I feel like you're in like this is such a good thing to start talking about now as you head into it because you're going to be so educated going into it by just having a women's group, talking about it, supporting, learning about what works, what doesn't. I think you're just going to smooth sail. But everybody's different. Everybody's different.
Yeah, I mean, to your point though, like when I first got on progesterone, my body was like, "What?" And it took about 2 months, you know what I mean, for my body to be like, "Oh, okay," you know what I mean? But like progesterone is supposed to reduce water weight. Oh no, no, trust me. I like as soon as I got on it, and then, like I said, it took about 2 months for my body to calm down. But I also was overdosing. Didn't know it.
I have a girlfriend that just went on HRT maybe 2 months ago, and she said right away within 1 week she gained 7 pounds. She goes, I went off it. So like, some people just was like, whoa, too much too soon. But I think you just need to like let it get in the body a little bit. That's just that's what's scary is that you don't know whether to go on medication or not.
Well, and with the people that I work with, and I teach my clients how to muscle test themselves, which is so I don't know how the patch works. I don't know if it's just like you stick it on and you just leave it on all the time, or if you put on a different one every day. Like I don't know how that works, but
The patch is like you change it 2 times a week.
okay. Yeah, because with muscle testing, what's great, and this is how I realized like the 2 times where my body said less progesterone. One was 6 months in, and then the second time was just recently. My body's just not liking it. Those symptoms again that you're trying to get rid of, they get exasperated. And I was like, okay, I think it's time to reduce it and fix that. And so I just muscle test. I'm like, does my body want it? And my body will say no. Whereas before it was saying yes. And so, and you can do that on a daily basis. Like as I've healed my microbiome, the way that I absorb nutrients has changed. I can't take the same amount of magnesium I used to. It totally rips my stomach up.
Yeah.
So because I don't need as much. And so like I'll have to muscle test and it's just interesting because now like I have to alternate it. Like I can't do magnesium every day. It's too much for my body. And every night before I go to bed, I'll muscle test, does my body want it tonight? And it'll let me know. And it's usually like every other day that it'll say yes. But that helps too. Like if you teach people how to actually work with their own bodies, and they can go, oh, today's not the day to use it. I don't need it. There's still some left over or whatever. And then that's helped a lot.
Yeah. And I think for me, I take more vitamin D, and even though I'm not bleeding, I still take iron. I've always had low iron, but even though I'm not bleeding, I still take iron, which gives me, I feel, some energy as well. So just learning your own what works, what doesn't work. I don't know if you supplement a lot either, but do you take creatine or anything or no?
I'm not a creatine fan. I'm swollen enough. Thank you. Um, I I eat so much red meat though too. And I know they're like, oh, well, it's good for these things. I'm like, look, if you want to take it, for me, I do a lot of red meat.
Yeah,
Uh, I do all B vitamins.
yeah,
I do trace minerals. I add extra zinc and copper. I do CoQ10,
yeah. Okay.
um, omega-3, and is that magnesium gets alternated every other night now with high doses of vitamin C.
Yeah,
So I do get vitamin D, vitamin A. Um, so yeah, like those are kind of the big heavy hitters. I've noticed as I have integrated zinc back into my diet, oh my gosh, that made the ovaries so right. Like
wow.
like that between that and CoQ10, like I know exactly when I'm ovulating now. Like there's no mystery there. Like, and it actually, my cycles were starting to, they were like 25 days, but now they're back to 27, 28. So adding the zinc and the CoQ10 in really just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me, like, I feel like I felt really good on omega 3s and I haven't been doing it lately. And so you just reminded me, like, that made me feel really great. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
And it's our food is nutritionally kind of just depleted. And so I recommend people supplement. I joke because I have a girl that just got onto my program, and I did a check-in with her, after a month, just on her symptoms because she was having horrible menstrual migraines, and her doctor had put her on progesterone, but she just had these like they'd last 5 days. It was awful,
Yeah.
and no energy, zero energy, just zero functionality, barely getting by. So I say, how you doing? And she says, well, my last period, she was, I got a headache and it lasted a few hours. That was it. I didn't get a migraine. And she goes, my energy's 10 times better. And she goes, I went to get my lashes done. And the lash lady was like, whoa, your lashes have grown out. And I was like, yeah, it's the micronutrients. Iodine, that's the other thing I have people take is iodine. So like with all of those micronutrients, when you start putting that back into the system, because stress steals so much of your nutrients, right? So when you start adding all of those back in, all of a sudden the body's like, oh, thank you. Hair, skin, nails, ovaries, everything just starts to just like turn back on.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. Depleted.
So yeah, it's all part of really just giving your body what it needs. So, and I think most women, they're like, they wonder why they're having these symptoms, but if they're not getting the nutrition, the rest, the exercise, and they're just self-abandoning, right? They're not even meeting their own emotional needs. Of course, you're not going to be feeling good.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Well,
anyway,
yeah.
Rachel, it was a pleasure to have you and catch up with you today.
Oh, good. Thanks for having me. I feel so honored.
Do you?
Honored to be a menopausal woman. Woohoo!
Well,
Uh,
it's a different time in life, and I mean, if you become you women really tend to step into their own authority at that time.
yep.
So I think it's a powerful time.
It is. I definitely feel it's more like I feel like I have a little bit more umph In me, you know, I don't know, going through it, there's a part of me, I mean, first of all, it's fabulous not having a period. It's fabulous not bleeding. Um, you don't have the month to month cycles of the up and down. Like it's kind of great. You don't have to bring tampons with you. I, you don't have to worry like if you're going to go on vacation, you're going to get your period. Like there's so many great things about it. So so happy menopause. And then
Well,
I have friends that are 40, 54, 55, and they're still getting their period. It blows my mind. Like I stopped mine when I turned 51 into 52. So yeah. So I think an average age is anywhere between like 51, 54, but some people get it earlier, they get it later.
oh yeah, no, my one of my natural doctors was like, you can absolutely push this back. Like absolutely. It's all very contingent upon like it's not set in stone. Just like when you start your period, you know what I mean? There's a lot of factors that go into when you start your period. And there's a lot of factors that go into when you stop your period. So like if you're a smoker and a drinker and you're not healthy, like you're more likely to shut down that factory early because fertility is the first thing the body shuts down when it needs to survive.
Yeah.
But he was like, as of right now, when I check your body, you're scheduled for about 54.
I love it. I love it.
So I was like, oh, interesting. Thanks for letting me know. He's like, yeah, you won't even like at this point. He goes, if you recalibrate more, you could push it back further. He goes, right now it's about 49 to start perimenopause and 54 to close it completely.
I like that. I like that for you.
But I was just like, oh, thanks, doc. Okay, but
Uh,
okay. Well, Rachel, I really appreciate you being available today for the audience.
Good to see you.
And until next time.
Okay, have a great day. And I didn't get to meet the group, but um, maybe another six
Well, this
months.
is going on YouTube, so it's
Okay, cool.
yeah, for a lot of people. So I appreciate it.
Okay, bye, sweetheart.